Hey guys, this is Shadsoft7 here. Man, I did not expect my top 10 list of most hated Sonic games to cause so much controversy, and this seems to be mainly due to my inclusion of the game Sonic Riders. Sonic Riders of all games. Now, I'm not sure what's baffling to me, how terrible a racing game Sonic Riders is, or the fact that it has so many fans of it. I'm not saying you're an idiot if you like the game, but I'm just perplexed that so many people consider it a good game. Looking back at my list, I wasn't too happy with the way I described the game. I was unscripted and I slurred a lot of my words. So now let me give a more detailed explanation as to why I dislike the game Sonic Riders. To start off with though, I thought this might have been a decent concept for a game. A Sonic hoverboard racing game sounded pretty damn cool if you ask me. Heck, the game started out great as well, with a stylish intro done in anime style. It all looked cool. Unlike races like Mario Kart, which relied on power-ups and simple kart racing, Sonic Riders was more involved in gears and performing stunts. It could have been a great twist to racing games, but man was the execution poor. The first common problem that can really hinder a racing game is the controls. They just don't feel tight enough for Sonic Riders. Steering can occasionally feel light, and when it comes to drift turns, the controls are even worse. Taking sharp turns is so awkward, so you have to hold the R1 button to drift. And this game has probably some of the worst drift mechanics ever. When you're steering regularly, you don't turn sharp enough, but when drifting you turn too sharply, making it easy to crash or fly off course. There's no in between. What's worse is there seems to be a second delay when pressing the R1 button. Some would say that you get a feel for the controls, but I'm just not seeing it here. Also, I like the idea of stunts and how you could charge up your jump off ramps to get better stunts done, but I found you rarely needed to do great stunts, as basic ones would get your board air anyways. And speaking of the boards running off air, that was another stupid concept in my opinion. You have to keep fueling your board with air. The good thing is that it's easy to come by, but the bad news is that if you run out of air, you have to run, and running on foot has some of the loosest controls I've ever seen in a racing game. And the pit stops to get air are also worthless. I mean, it completely recharges your board's air, but why would you want to do that when it stops you to do it, giving the enemies time to overtake you and you'll lose the race anyways? Now, I'm not going to critique the story, as for the concept of a racing game, it works. But the main culprit here is the script. For starters, while the 4Kids voice actors aren't too bad, the script makes them sound worse than they really are. A lot of the time, the script tries to throw in gags as well. I wouldn't mind a few of them. I mean, take Crash to Insanity for example. That game had gags in it and it was funny as hell. But these just come off as desperate. Some of the lines are just really bad. And at one point, Sonic literally says, "How can she just walk in and diss Tails?" I'm not even joking about that. It's almost as if the game is trying to say, "Laugh at us! Laugh at us!" Oh, and don't get me started on Sonic's new rival, Jet the Hawk. His voice is just the most annoying thing ever, and he's just a completely unlikable character. So, what other problems do I have with this game besides its terrible controls and poor game mechanics? 1. The computer controlled players are cheap assholes. This is a continuous problem with many racing games, as it always feels like the computer AI are programmed to know all the twists and turns of the courses perfectly, and that can make racing against them really annoying, and at times unfair. I'll be honest, I never beat this game. I did try. I even suffered through the desert race, which you lose anyways, leaving the victory totally unsatisfying. But when I got to Babylon Garden, that stage is pure gaming hell. Combine all the bad controls with the cheating AI into another horribly designed race course, and what do you get? A nightmare. Now, before I finish this rant, I want to make one thing crystal clear. Sonic Riders is not the worst game out there, and it's nowhere near as bad as Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis for the Game Boy Advance. There are some good points about the game. For one, the music is pretty catchy, and whilst the main theme isn't one of my favourites, it's still pretty good. The graphics are also a nice improvement over the previous games as well, but the main issue being it falls foul of poor controls. And I'm not biased against racing games, there are some that I like, most notable ones being F-Zero and Mario Kart. Why? Because the control is fluent, the tracks are well designed, and both of the game's difficulty comes from fair challenge. Well, Mario Kart is questionable on the last one, but for Sonic Riders it's nothing like that. We get awkward and loose controls, weak boarding mechanics, cheating AI, and some poor design choices on the race course. It can get very frustrating. Now, a lot of people say Sonic R is a shitty Sonic racing game, but the controls for that game at least worked as they should, and the setup felt more clean than for Riders. And hey, if you want a fun Sonic racing game, then I suggest getting Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, as that game is a genuinely great racing game. So, that's my views on the game Sonic Riders. Hopefully in this video I made myself more clear on as to why I hate the game, and hopefully you can understand and respect my views on it. If you're still pissed off at me for my opinions, then sorry, but my word is final. Sonic Riders, I didn't like it. So, thanks for watching my video. This is Shadsel11 signing out.